Today we have the strongest Void Warlock build I have seen, and the gameplay speaks for itself on what is possible when you understand the build and how the synergy works within it. I covered the VoidLock in a video earlier this season, but I changed it up quite a bit after testing it in this Grandmaster Content. What you're watching is a solo GM in the Moon Heist Battleground, so the hardest opening of a Grandmaster there is in the game. As you can see, we have infinite abilities, which includes one of the strongest grenades in the game, and also probably the strongest class ability in the game as well now. We have unlimited healing thanks to the Devour perk, where we full heal on kills no matter how far enemies are away from us, and unlimited healing from the healing rifts. So basically a restoration ×1 all the time. And then to top it off, if you add in one repulsor brace weapon, then we get infinite void overshields for a huge damage reduction all the time. When we pair this all together on the VoidLock, we create the VoidLock king of builds, and I am excited for you all to try this one out. Now speaking of awesome builds for you all, I have partnered with Apex Gaming PCs to bring you all my personal line of PCs that I think you will really enjoy. With the holiday season fast approaching, this is the perfect time to take a look at PCs, and you can also finance these bad boys as well, which means you don't have to pay all at once. We have 3 different tiers of PCs to make sure you all get exactly what you're looking for to fit your style and budget. These 3 different models are the crew, the first mate, and the captain. All you have to do is click the link at the top of the description or in the pinned comment down below, and you can use my code, which is PLUNDER, at checkout, and you can get 15% off your next purchase. I know it only says 5%, but we got an awesome deal for my community, and it's 15% off for your PC. If you guys are looking for a new PC, then make sure to check out my line over at Apex Gaming PCs. I know you will like them. Now the biggest thing to understand is your ability rotation and how everything works together to keep up those unlimited abilities. All the mods on the build are going to play in keeping up our healing rift all the time for that void soul. They're also going to keep up extra weapon damage all the time, and we're going to extend that even longer. And then the mods are going to feed our grenade ability as well. So we get class ability, grenade ability, and weapon damage from all the mods that we're pulling together. Every time you enter a fight or enter a room, the first thing you're doing is dropping that healing rift. When you cast that healing rift, it's going to create that void soul, and we're beefing that up with our exotic, but everything around this build is built on that void soul. You send it out towards a high health target like a champion, and as soon as you see it make contact, you chuck your grenade out. The reason for this is that void soul is going to do that 15% weaken debuff on everything it reaches, and it has a wide area that it reaches, basically like a mini tether, and our exotic extends the timer on it as well, so it's going to last around 20 seconds out on the field, so you have plenty of time. So as soon as that void soul touches down on an enemy, chuck that grenade, that vortex grenade. Since everything is weakened, that grenade's going to do 15% extra damage, which is perfect. And then we add an echo of Remnants as a fragment, so that vortex grenade is going to last even longer on the field. Now we're just going to use our strong weapon, whatever that may be, to chunk down onto some champion or high health target, and we're going to let that void soul and that grenade just sit on enemies and do a lot of damage for us. Now we want that void soul or that grenade to kill one single enemy, because if they kill a single enemy for us, which is really easy to do on a red bar, it's going to proc our second aspect, which is feed the void, defeating a target with a void ability to activate Devour. This is really important because this is your main source of healing, and that means every time that your void soul gets a kill, your grenade gets a kill, or your weapon gets a kill, you're going to full heal on that kill. But also you're going to get anywhere from 10 to 20% of your grenade back per kill from the Devour perk, depending on the difficulty of the enemy you defeat. So letting that void soul or the grenade get a kill is a big deal here, because that kind of feeds everything else that's going on. Now that you have Devour active, you're full healing on a kill, you're also getting grenade energy on a kill, and if you do end up using a weapon with repulsor brace and you get a kill on a weakened enemy from the void soul, which is attached to basically everything on the field, you're going to get a full void overshield from it as well. So the synergy within this subclass alone and a single weapon with repulsor brace is insane. That's really what makes this build so strong. So those 2 aspects are Feed the Void and Child of the Old Gods, which we already went over, and the first fragment is Echo of Remnants, which makes that void grenade last longer. Now for your other 3 fragments, I do like Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets creates an orb of power and a void breach. This is more for easier content when you're flying through enemies, because it's just going to spawn an extra orb of power for you and void breaches to fuel your class ability. But in more difficult content, especially solo, you're not really collecting that void breach or orb of power that often because you're playing a little further back, so you could drop this one if you really want to. Next we have Echo of Persistence. Void buffs applied to you, invisibility, overshield, and Devour have increased duration. This just puts Devour up to 15 seconds and makes that overshield last long, and we definitely want to take this fragment because it's really strong. Having an extra 6 seconds to get a kill and keep Devour up is really nice. And lastly, we're going to take Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. We're going to be getting a ton of kills with that vortex grenade, especially in weakened areas from the Child of the Old Gods void soul that's weakening things. So then that's just going to add those volatile rounds to your void weapon and repulsor brace. And remember, volatile rounds last about 10 seconds, and that's just added damage going off when you're shooting attacking an enemy. And that's important, especially on like the heavy machine gun commemoration that I'm using, because I'm getting the Void overshield when I get the kill. I'm also doing extra damage from those volatile rounds, but I also have 2 or 3 Void weapon surges on my boots, which means I'm also doing 17% or 22% increased damage. So that's what makes Void weapons hit really hard, when you get the weapon damage boost going and the volatile rounds going at the same time. Plus the enemy should be weakened from Child of the Old Gods. And since we're on the subject of weapons, again, just a Void weapon with Repulsor Brace really helps out here. Other than that, the rest of the options are completely up to you. For your exotic, we are going to take Briar Binds. This is a new exotic this season, and the perk here is one with the Void. Your Void Souls have a longer duration, they also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting with them, allowing them to be redeployed. In Grandmaster content, you're really not interacting with them and redeploying them that often. I think in the opening gameplay here, I do this maybe once or twice, that's it. But we have unlimited rifts, so it doesn't matter whether you collect them or not, because you're always going to be shooting out Void Souls anyways. And a great thing about this is it makes that Void Soul last like 6 seconds longer on the field, which means it just pushes it up to 20 or 21 seconds. So you're easily getting another rift within that time frame. But just think of it as a mini tether. It's always draining and hurting enemies, and it's also applying the weaken debuff, 15% debuff to everything all the time. It's super strong when you play into it with the right weapon. Now for your mods on the build, on the helmet, we are going to take Harmonic Siphon and Kinetic Siphon, so then my Void Machine Gun and my Wish Ender Bow could spawn Orbs of Power on double kills. We also took an Ashes to Assets to get extra super energy on our grenade final blows. On the gauntlets, we're taking 2 copies of Bolstering Detonation. This means every time your Void Grenade hits a target, you're going to get about 30% of your class ability energy back just from that grenade hitting a target. This just feeds that class ability and Child of the Old Gods, which we want to have up. Also going to take Firepower so our grenades can create Orbs of Power. This just helps you and your fire team. Your chest piece is all damage reduction, so match whatever activities you're doing to help you stay alive in it. On the boots, I had 2 copies of Void Weapon Surge. If you can fit 3 here while hitting 100 Resilience, then that's what you want to do. 100 Resilience is the main stat you want to hit, and you want to push your recovery up if you can, but your recovery and your discipline really isn't as important because all the abilities are feeding back to those abilities anyways, but 100 resilience is something you want to hit. So if you can hit 100 resilience and stack 3 weapon surge mods for the 22% damage increase, you want to do that. And then on our class item, we're going to take time dilation. So it's going to make our armor charge last 15 seconds instead of 10 seconds. So now that weapon damage boost is going to last even longer. And remember, you can have 3 armor charges up at once, which means you have a 45-second timer to do that extra damage and easily can collect another Orb of Power in that time frame. And the other 2 mods on our class item is going to be Bomber. Reduce grenade cooldown when using your class ability. We're always popping that rift and throwing out Void Souls, so you might as well get a good 25% of your grenade back each time you do it. There's really nothing special with this build or over the top, like as far as like your ability rotation or what you need to be doing. It's just pop your rift and throw your grenade and then use your weapon. And then just cycle through the 3 over and over. But what makes this build so strong in endgame content is that synergy within the Void subclass and the exotic. It's just so strong for that content that you're doing, and I think if you guys really commit to it, you'll really enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.